Hey everybody, you're watching Cole the Corn Star. Good morning everybody, welcome to the farm. We are going to be combining corn today. Before we get started, better check the oil. Yep, she full. For today's harvest adventure, we're gonna have a full crew working today, so we should be able to get a lot done. We're gonna have 2 grain cart drivers, 2 semi-drivers, and 1 combine operator. On the combine side of things, we are running a demo. This is a Fendt Ideal 8 combine, and we're running a 12-row folding corn head on the front. If all goes well, this thing should be able to pump out a semi-load about every 15 minutes. For grain cart number 1, we are going to have our 1980 John Deere 4840, and that is pulling a 600 bushel grain cart. And then for grain cart number 2, we have our big grain cart. This is a 1300 bushel grain cart, and the tractor that's pulling it is 340 horsepower. We're really excited to have the opportunity to be able to demo this Fendt Ideal 8 combine. This particular combine is also outfitted with LSW 1400 tires on the front. These are the largest ag tire in the world. And then on the back, we have LSW 850s. Looks like a not very fun job. What are you excited about with the LSWs?
I guess the first thing I noticed is going through the field, you don't have the chatter in the cab all day. They ride really nice. The only thing that's really different is with the tracks, you're so stable with the earth. You don't have this side-to-side motion. You don't rock back and forth. You're just planted. With the LSWs and even duals, ran a dual machine, you have all that movement. So they have their pluses and minuses. Our next machine, unless it had the new style tracks on it, I probably wouldn't buy them. Going down the road, you can go 6 mile an hour faster on tires than tracks, so that's an advantage. Move time is a little quicker. So overall, I think the LSWs take the win.
After doing a little ride around with my brother, I think I am now ready to run this thing. Impression when it comes to the Harley bars on this thing, feels like I have ape hangers. It's like my legs all the way up, fully reclined. The head that is on this Fendt combine is a head that we used to have a couple years ago, and what we didn't like about this head was you would always bunch up corn like this, and then you had to get out every so often to get it off. I sure don't miss doing this. I honestly really don't miss this head all that much, other than the folding. The folding aspect of it is really nice. There we go. I think I got the issue figured out. If I go a little too fast, it plugs up. So I just had to slow the machine down a little bit. It seems like it's feeding a whole lot better now. This year we had a fungal disease hit our corn called southern rust, and it made our stalks really weak. So when we look down a row, we can see we have a bunch of tops snapped off, but if we look down deeper, every now and again we can see plants that are sitting just a few inches above the ground. So if we let these sit much longer, they would fall to a place where we would not be able to harvest them. So we are getting here at about the perfect time. We're not going to talk about this singular row that I missed all the way across the field, but if you look, about 1 and 2 plants on this last row are bent over to the ground. So really perfect timing to be here. And once we get this road done, we will have this field completely wrapped up, and we are going to be jumping to the one right there. I've been running for about 2 hours now, and I think it's time for me to give my first initial raw thoughts on the new Fendt Ideal 8 combine. Right off the bat, pretty much everything in here is almost completely backwards as to any other combine that I have ran, including the seat belt. This one goes from the right side to the left. I have never seen that before. I don't know what kind of material the seat is made out of, but it's actually really comfortable and it's kind of grippy, so once you're there, you stay stuck to it. You don't feel like you're slipping and sliding in it. Another thing that's completely opposite to any combine I've ever been in, over here on the right side, we have the ability to pull the shade down for the sun. We do not have one in the middle, or at least not on the top. We do have one down here. I have no idea what that one does there. And there is not one on the left side. All the combines I've ever seen always have one over here, and they have one right there. I've never seen one there, and I have never seen one over there. I will say, I do not like this steering wheel. It's really thick, and it's also huge. This thing's like 25% bigger than any other combine steering wheel that I've ever seen. Wait a second, I just found one in the front. Ooh, that's a nice one. Okay. There is not one over here though, so we're still missing that one. But probably my biggest complaint with this combine right now is the fact that everything is measured in inches on this. Any other combine I've been in was in the metric system. So now I know how the rest of the world feels, because we have to convert everything over, so I know what my measurements are, or at least relative to other combines that I've been in. On the outside of the combine, this thing has a really long unloading auger on it, so it feels like the grain carts are really far away from us. And then when it comes to the LSW 1400 tires on this thing, extremely smooth going through the field. I am very impressed.
I'm just amazed how nice these big LSWs from Titan Tires ride. They're just so smooth. And the nice thing is, if you get in a little wetness out in the field, you don't get the compaction, but you get the traction, and you can get through where you're going.
I don't know if we are going to be able to fit through this bridge or not. We have some pretty wide tires on. This could be interesting. I think we are going to make it, but that's about as tight as it gets when it comes to getting a combine through a bridge. Yeah, we're just about rubbing on both sides. Ah, looky there. We got the infamous iron wheat wrapped up inside of here. Perfect. Now that we're over here in the new field, I'm going to switch spots with Cooper, and I'm going to be running semi now. For today, this is semi-load number 13. We're having some sort of issue with the Fendt combine. We're having a bunch of rotor losses for some reason. The new combine is supposed to be able to handle 4,500 to 5,000 bushels per hour of corn, and what we are currently experiencing is once we get over 3,500 bushels per hour, we start walking some bushels through the top of the rotor, and then we start kicking it on the ground. So it's probably something we're doing with the setup. We're just not sure what. We've changed all of the settings several times, and it seems like we are not able to get a consistent result. It is now a few hours later. We got done with the new field that we moved to, and we only had a handful of breakdowns along the way. One of the brake canisters on one of the semis decided it was gonna go bad, so we got that pulled apart. We're gonna have to get a new one of those. And then the unloading auger in the bottom of the pit, I guess some bolts inside of the auger decided they were gonna fall out. And so the auger was not spinning on the bottom half. So got that pulled apart and put back together. That is now back going as well. Tomorrow we are going to be going over to a neighbor's farm who passed away a few weeks ago, and we are going to be helping him harvest his corn, or helping his family harvest the corn. So it's about 2 o'clock in the morning right now. We're gonna try to get a couple hour nap in, and then we're gonna go meet up with the neighbors. I tell you what, that 5-hour nap felt awesome. Boogity, boogity, boogity! We're off to the neighbors. Well, there goes green card number 1. We just got the combines rolling over here at the neighbors. It's gonna be fast and furious here today. We got 2 combines out in the field. There's gonna be 3 grain carts, and then we are going to have 5 semis. If all goes well, we should be averaging a semi load about every 12 minutes. Fun coming to the co-op because there's usually a guy or 2 unloading trucks who speak Spanish, and so while I'm waiting for my truck to unload, I get to do some Spanish practice. I am not going to lie, this is some of the best looking corn that I've seen this year. And about 3 minutes later, we are back at the co-op. Up to this point, I've traveled over to the co-op 5 times now. They got this part of the field completely combined, and I believe they are now on their last 20 acres. This is load number 6. After about 6 hours and 25 semi-loads of corn total, we are now done at the neighbors. We now have everything brought back here to our farm, and we are just getting a new field opened up. I want to go up this ladder and look in there, but that dust looks nasty. We're now getting to that time of the year where once the sun starts to go down, it goes down quick. Over the last 5 years, we've really been trying to get our equipment outfitted with LED lights. This helps a lot with working at night. You can see extremely well with these really bright LEDs. Oh, it looks like Kevin found some mud. It looks like they're starting to get the Fendt combine dialed in a lot more. The sample is much better than what we were having earlier, and it's looking a whole lot cleaner. Well, well, well. Don't mind if I do. Just like clockwork. On our white Volvo, I'm pretty sure that the headlights are dimmer than the trailer lights. We're quitting a little bit early tonight. It's 11 p.m., so I'm actually gonna get a little bit of sleep. We will be back in the morning. Buenos dias! Oh my goodness, I slept so good last night. Before we get started this morning, Cooper is just blowing out the air filters that are on the Fendt combine. This is about 20 hours worth of running. That thing sucks in some good. Over the course of this video, we hauled 27 loads the first day. Yesterday, we hauled 14 for the neighbor, plus 10 of our own, so we had 24. So we've already hauled over 50,000 bushels of corn, and today could be a little bit of a wild card. There are a few chances of rain later, so if we get rain, we're gonna get rained out of the field. If we don't get rain, we will be able to get a lot done. So if we don't get rain, and to me, a good goal is 30 semi-loads. So I guess we'll see what happens. Let's take a look at how the Fendt combine is performing from a ground check perspective. We are looking for less than 2 kernels of corn per square foot. Oh, wow, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. We are in corn that is 14.5%, so header loss could be very high. But look at this, wow. Kernel there, got a kernel of corn right there, and got a kernel of corn right there. That is extremely acceptable, especially with this being this dry. and having the potential for a lot of header loss, a lot of butt shelling. Wow, this is probably as good as I have ever seen it. Now I'm gonna say stand. The scale on the side of the grain cart like that is extremely nice. So far, we have managed to skirt right between these clouds. How do you feel about the Fendt Combine so far, Coop?
Overall, like I said, the biggest thing, my favorite thing with the Combine is it loads speed on the auger. I like the cruise control, so you can just hold the handle over, whatever speed you set at, it pulls that speed up, down, up a hill, down a hill, flat ground. The layout of everything doesn't tell you what is what, so you don't really know what you're doing. Creating a field is a pain in the butt. Combine measurements on your concave, your sims, all that is all in inches. So you have decimal points. Well, every other combine in the world is in millimeters. Like I was saying, you don't know what 22 millimeters looks like, but you've always been around that number, so you just like kind of know what numbers you're looking for. I feel like it may be a little underpowered, but I also don't know, since it's a new machine, if we need to be changing the fuel filters. Maybe it's a little low on power there. Ride's good. I don't know, overall I like the machine. I just don't know, I mean, I guess I don't know what the price difference is between a new John Deere or a new Case Combine, but if it was the same, I would be interested in it, but if it's a lot more, I don't know if I would do it.
Whoa, Clark, she's full. Well, it is starting to rain. I don't know what has been going on with the forecast this year, but it was supposed to rain for an hour, and that hour got pushed into 4 hours, and then 8 hours, and then 24 hours, and it pretty much rained for 2 days. So it is now 2 days later. As much as we don't like rainy days during harvest, I was able to make good use of the time. And I was sitting here in my shop office, and I finished our cost of production reports for every single one of our fields. In my mind, the cost of production report is one of the most important documents that we can put together on our farm, because it's a little roadmap on how much money that we spent for the year. So then when we actually harvest our grain and we go to sell it, we can look at our yield and we can look at the price, and then we can start making logical decisions based on profit margin, because we know how much it cost us to raise it. Now we know how much we can sell it for, and then we can start thinking a little bit less emotionally and more logically when it comes to making our grain sales. And whenever we start thinking more logically instead of emotionally when it comes to marketing our crops, we tend to make better marketing decisions, or in other words, we tend to make more money. And on top of that, when we make a cost of production report a couple months before the end of the year, we have a much better idea of what our profitability is going to be well before the end of the year. So then we can start strategically tax planning sooner, and then we don't get to the end of the year where we have a week to make a $10,000 tax decision, and then maybe it's rushed, where when we have 2 months we can really think about it and then come up with a much better tax strategy. This is the layout that I use for cost of production report, so feel free to copy. These are just sample numbers. Everything in here is just made up, but I start with the field, and then I calculate the rent, the real estate taxes, the seed cost, fertilizer cost, chemistry cost, interest cost, insurance cost, and then soil sample costs, and then I add those all together, and then that gives us our total cost per acre. Stop! I know what you're thinking. Well, Cole, what about planting costs and combining costs and semi costs and labor costs? Where are all of those in there? Cost of production reports are really confusing to make, particularly because there is no set standard way way of making them. If you talk to 100 farmers, you are probably going to get 105 different answers on how to make a cost of production report. I honestly have never talked to a farmer who does a cost of production report the same way that I do. I've never talked to a farmer who does it the same as anybody. Everybody has a different way of doing it. This is just how I do it, and honestly, I make 2 of them. The reason why I run 2 of them is because this one tells me exactly what it costs for us to produce an extra acre of crop. All of these expenses are direct cash out into an individual acre of the field, and it's solely the expenses associated with the soil of the field. Nothing here leaves the soil of the field. In the business world, this report would be called the marginal cost. So if we picked up 1 additional acre, we would be spending this much more extra. Every single time we pick up 1 more acre, we're going to be spending this. So this is the marginal cost, the cost to add 1 more. So with the 2 cost of production reports that I do, one of them just has the marginal cost on it, and then the other one has marginal cost plus all of the other cash expenses for the entire farm. So for the second cost of production report, we are going to be adding all of this number, plus we need to add in all of our overhead expenses, direct expenses, and indirect expenses. Overhead expenses are things that don't really change when we farm more acres. So for example, on supplies, we're probably going to buy $100 worth of paper towels, whether we're farming 2,000 acres or 3,000 acres. Our phone bill is not going to go up because we farm more acres. All of our payments are already locked in, so whether we're farming 2,000 acres or 20,000 acres, our payments remain the exact same. And then I'm not going to pay more property insurance on this building just because we are farming more. So these things remain relatively constant regardless of if the rest of the operation is growing. Next up, we have our indirect expenses. These would be repairs and labor. Repairs and labor are called indirect expenses because they are not directly associated with the cost of an additional acre on the farm. So for example, let's say our farm grew by 1 acre. That does not mean that our repair bill would be higher. And that also does not mean that our labor bill would be higher. With that being said, these expenses still exist. They are just not tied with an additional acre. So that's why they are called indirect. The direct expenses, on the other hand, which are fuel and trucking, are tied with an additional acre, but the reason why they're down here instead of up here is both of these are estimated. For every single one of these marginal costs, we wrote a check during the growing season for those. But with these 2, I won't know this one until about 5 months after we get the crop out of the field. So I have to estimate on what that is going to cost. And then for the fuel, it'll be about a month after we get out of the field. So I also have to estimate. Another reason why the fuel is down here instead of up there is because it's really hard to distinguish where the fuel actually went. Did it get put into a pickup truck that went to go get parts? Did it get put in a semi to go out to the field? Or did it get put in a piece of equipment to go build a new driveway on a farm? So it's really hard to tie it directly to the production of 1 more acre. So that's why I put this one in the second cost of production report. So anyway, back to the rainy day. I was working on the marginal cost of production report and I got that completed. So that's the good news. Now I also have some bad news. The Fendt combine was supposed to be here for 5 days and we got to use it for 3, and then it ended up raining for 2 and they came and took it. So we don't have the Fendt combine anymore. So with that being said, I'm gonna call it a night here. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.